our healthcare workers.
The Taoiseach has flatly rejected calls from Sinn Féin for the Apple tax money to be used to pay for coronavirus supports. It's after political party leaders met this afternoon to discuss the next steps in responding to COVID-19. 2 men have been jailed for 9 years for raping a student after bringing her back to an apartment in Donegal in February 2015. Ghanaian nationals Boakio Singh of Tuban Burnfoot and Kelvin Opoko of Kilgrane Letterkenny were convicted following a 5-week trial. Our courts correspondent Frank Graney has this report, which some listeners may find distressing.
On a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of how drunk she was on the night in question, the woman told the court she was a 10. The jury was told they took her back to an apartment where they both raped her. A video clip shown during the trial showed the woman in an intoxicated state being brought into a bedroom. Kelvin Opoko claimed she wasn't too drunk to consent and was an enthusiastic participant. Boakai Osai continues to deny having any sexual activity with her. Following their convictions, the woman said reliving the events during the trial was like reopening an old wound. She also said they'd robbed her of 5 years of her life.
An 8-year-old boy has died after being attacked by 2 dogs at a house in Tala in Dublin yesterday afternoon. He passed away from his injuries today. The dogs have been put down and Gardaí are investigating what happened. And the Olympic Federation of Ireland says it expects this summer's Olympics in Tokyo to be postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. In a statement, it says it's looking to get feedback from its member federations on matters including if athletes should suspend their training. That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. Need to renew your AA car insurance? Go to the aa.ie/myAA.
Tonight will remain dry in many places, but some rain in parts of Connacht and Ulster. Minimum temperatures of 3 to 7 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Hello there, you're very welcome along. We've got a good show for you this evening as the International Olympic Committee continue to hum and haw and refuse to accept the inevitable. We will check in with Ciara McGeehan over in Manchester and see how her preparations for the Olympics are going, if they're still continuing. On Monday Night Rugby, a feature interview with Simon Zebo in his second year now at Racing. Like all of us, life is on hold for him, but we'll chat to Zebo after 8 o'clock. And as usual, Pat Nevin with us on a Monday on the football show after 9. 53106 is the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. It's Joe Molloy here in studio. Richie McCormack is in his gaff. Hello.
How are you, Joe?
How you doing?
I'm not too bad. As the days go on, I'm expecting more and more for the door to my right to burst open and for somebody to arrive in crying about somebody hitting somebody over the head. I figure that moment is coming. I just hope it doesn't come in your tenure, Joe. I'm not sure how much you can handle it.
We look forward to it, Richie, greatly.
It's going to be a good one.
To watch you lose your temper with your children will indeed be a fine moment.
I won't lose my temper so much as quickly throw something at them to get them dispatched out of the room. Is that the same thing?
It's acceptable.
Okay, thanks.
Nathan Murphy also with us. Hello.
How's it going? Good evening.
Who would never lose his temper at his children, of course.
No, certainly not. Everybody has to weigh up what you do now if the child arrives in. I think you have to embrace them and be that loving parent, but secretly inside you're like, get the hell out that door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My kids haven't actually braved coming in. They just open the door slightly, look in to see what's going on, but for some reason they won't take that giant step. Thankfully,
they wouldn't dare. How goes homeschooling?
Oof. I'd be lying if I was to say I was the homeschooler, considering my wife is a teacher. Mm-hmm. She is very much on top of this. She's very organised, and the teachers in the school, what they're putting together is insane in terms of how much effort they're putting into their schoolwork every day. Because, listen, I know they're working from home, but a lot of those teachers also have 2 or 3 children running around the place, and they're trying to make things as normal as possible. They're sending video messages every morning to the children, so there's a little bit of familiarity around that. My eldest lad's in second class, so he's got about 3-4 hours work to do, like solid, every single day. You forget what they actually do in school. There'll be there'll obviously be a huge appreciation for anybody who works in the medical profession. I think there'll be a bit of appreciation for what teachers do as well by the end of this. Yeah.
And it's, again, slightly off topic, and we'll get on to sport in just a moment. Is there a sense that all the kids will, so your son in second class, will he be in third class next year? Everybody's going to move on with their lives, are they?
You would have to assume so. Like, they've completed 3/4 of the year already. Now, maybe they do need to come up with some sort of a slightly different curriculum, so that, because again, everybody's in a totally different situation. So we're fortunate that my wife is here, and while it's busy, she can keep them sort of ticking over. Whereas lots of people might have, well, 2 people working on the front line, and they're relying on somebody to mind the kids who might be minding other kids, and they get an hour, 2 hours in the evening to try and rush through some schoolwork. So I think that'll have to be considered, definitely, because there's an awful lot of children who can't just sit down at their kitchen table for 3-4 hours every day and do the work they need to do. There's other factors at play. So yeah, how they work that out, I'd imagine they can't stall and make pupils repeat a year.
But, because you've got pupils coming in at the back end then in junior infants and stuff that can't be stalled, etc. So you can't have like 6 and 7 year olds then starting into junior infants because everything else has been put on hold.
Yeah. One of the many complicated questions hanging over the world right now. So with a view to getting into the news round, we're going to talk to Ciara McGeehan at 7:30. She's based over in Manchester these days. She's been there since about November 2017, training with the New Balance team. And I'm presuming, Richie, despite the IOC trying to bury their heads in the sand, Ciara McGeehan and the rest of them will not be preparing for an Olympic Games this year.
No, it's not going to happen this year. The Olympic Federation of Ireland are actually being one of the more wait-and-see bodies. They'll say they'll canvass its various member associations and athletes before deciding on its participation at Tokyo 2020. Norway today joined Canada in calling for the Games themselves to be postponed. Australian athletes have already been told to prepare for a summer 2021 Games. The IOC, as we know, have given themselves a 4-week window on a decision, but are adamant that the Games themselves will not be cancelled outright. But the IOC's longest-serving board member, Dick Pound, broke ranks this evening. He told USA Today, "We will postpone this and begin to deal with all the ramifications of moving this, which are immense." Irish boxer Kelly Harrington, she'd be considered very much a medal contender in Tokyo. She spoke to this morning's OTBAM and feels the Games should be postponed.
I hope it does get postponed. Athletes come first, people come first, and there's no point in going out and going to the Olympics and having no one to celebrate it. And coming back and being brown bread then a few weeks later because you're at the catching a virus out there.
Yeah, pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? Once the Australians pulled their athletes today, and Canada as well, and Norway, once athletes start being withdrawn from the Games, then it's game over, really. Dick Pound breaking ranks and saying that to USA Today is not surprising. I think they might just be best served by coming out straight away officially and saying, look, we acknowledge this is not going to go ahead, because it's very difficult for athletes who are half preparing still and not sure what's happening when it's just inevitable this thing will be postponed. Because there was talk of them, Richie, even saying they were going to take a month to figure out logistics or what might happen or what the final decision would be.
He is going to take a month on this to basically, I think in their heads, as Dick Pound mentions, they've already decided to postpone it. There is a lot involved in getting an Olympic Games to a city. There's obviously a lot involved 3 months, 4 months out from getting an Olympic Games kept in a city but moved forward by a year. So they're going to have to work with the logistics of that for the next while. I think it was actually USA Swimming who got the ball rolling on this officially on Friday night. They were the first ones who were a major body saying that, listen, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to be sending our athletes to these Olympic Games. And USA Swimming, when you factor in the NBC link into this, NBC paid $7.5 billion for rights to the Olympic Games up until 2032. If they don't have US athletes performing well in big sports at the Olympics, NBC are investing in the Olympic Games and will look for a payback.
Ooh, sorry, we just lost you there, but we take the point. The other thing, Nathan, is that they're still going through with the charade of handing over the torch. And I just saw on the news last night, big crowds in Japan turned up to see the Olympic torch, and I thought, good God.
Well, maybe it leads into maybe some shock in that part of the world as to just how quickly and how severely this virus has escalated around the rest of the world, because this was very much a Chinese thing, it felt, for quite a while, and we all looked at it from afar, whereas I think every projection and everything you see is that the amount of cases and how quickly and how rapidly it's increasing. I don't think anyone could quite believe it. So maybe the International Olympic Committee are playing a little bit of catch up, and as Richie touched upon, like the logistics of the biggest sporting event in the world, there's probably a good reason it's only on every 4 years. They probably wanted to give themselves that month and come out at the end of the month and say, here is a definitive nailed down plan of what's going to happen. But I just don't think that was fair on the athletes who have to continue.
I totally agree, and nobody expects them to have a definitive plan just yet. They're allowed to come out and say, listen, athletes, it's not going to happen this year, so you can tailor your training accordingly. So I presume that will have to happen very, very soon. Now, queuing up for to see the Olympic torch is one thing. Queuing up in Howth for a bag of chips, quite another, Nathan. Let's knock that one on the head. I mean, I'm sure the chips are lovely, but they can't be that lovely.
I just don't get it. I like, you look at the pictures of the weekend, you'd swear there has never been a sunny Sunday afternoon. Like, the entire country has decided that when we've been advised to stay away from each other, this is the time where we should all get out of the house at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Like, I think the queuing in Howth is nonsensical. Firstly, queuing for an hour for a bag of chips in the current crisis, a metre and a half. Was everybody a full 2 meters? I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Like, it's insanity.
Yeah.
You have a bit of sympathy with the people who decided to go to the beach or to go to a park because you need to get out of the house.
Yes.
Unfortunately, everybody went to the same beaches and the same parks. But you need to have a bit of cop on and just turn around and go the hell home.
You do. I have to say, in the main, what I'm observing around me is pretty good. Streets are largely empty. Shops, social distancing is reasonably good. Physical distancing, it's being called now. You can still be social. There was a great shot of two builders sitting 2 metres apart outside Bank of Ireland enjoying their lunch, and they had literally the 2 metres marked out. But I would say, in the main, aside from the examples which gain huge traction on social media because everybody is so fraught at the moment, I think generally we're not doing a bad job. And before you text in a ton of examples of what you're seeing, I'm not saying that those aren't happening. I'm just saying, in the main, I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, in our
do you think? Go on, Richie.
No. Yesterday I went out for a walk with the lads, and I just turned to one and said, "Do you know what? This is what a Sunday used to be like when I was your age. In that there wasn't a sinner, there was barely a car on the roads, and there wasn't anybody meeting us on the paths 100 yards either side. Like, it actually was pretty dead, and it's an area that will be, fairly busy. There's a shopping centre over quite close to us, and even that wasn't as busy as I anticipated being. People in the main are kind of getting this. It's just the outliers, like queuing for chips and Howth, or going for walks up in Glendalough, that seem to be causing the most.
Yeah, Nathan, you were going to say?
Do you think we'll ever shake hands again?
I was just, I was saying to somebody the other day, this will scar us. There is no question psychologically, and the generation of 1929 were a very frugal generation after that, despite the Roaring Twenties in the main. And I guarantee you, in 30 years' time or 35 years' time, younger people will be saying of us, "Have you noticed the way Granny and Grandad washed their hands for ages? What's that about?" Guaranteed. Well, I will never shake that habit now, and they will literally be saying that. And I would hate to think we won't go back to shaking hands and even hugging. Like, my group of mates, for whatever reason, we're a bunch of huggers when we all get together. And I fully intend on getting back to that, but the washing the hands thing might stick. But no, I totally agree. There's going to be some unforeseen psychological hang-ups for all of us going forward for decades to come.
I think there's got to be, and again, it's too early to be talking about positives, but I think there will be a radical change in a lot of people's lifestyle, because we're only, 10 days properly into this, but the amount of people who, it turns out, can work from home and work just fine from home and don't need to spend an hour or an hour and a half commuting every day.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to see why those people would go back to the day-to-day office job.
I know, I think it's a funny thing, because this was probably the future we all envisioned when the internet really became very reliable, and just the way we did everything was that this would be how life would be. We would all work from home, and yet you look across the Dublin skyline and it's full of cranes building offices, and now you wonder if inadvertently we're having this mass experiment to see if we can do without the offices. I think I was reading lots of bits and bobs at the moment. I think it was Fintan O'Toole making the point that we have students flying into the likes of Trinity from all around the world, paying huge money to do the college courses. They're probably all gone home now, continuing their college courses, and at a certain point they might all say, well, hang on, why am I flying over to Dublin paying huge rent and doing the same course when it's much cheaper to do it that way? So that's such a fascinating question, and I'm not sure what the answer will be. I do find increasingly, I have gone from thinking before any of this mess, God, it would be great to work from home more, to spend more time at home, to, as you said, the lack of commute, or just, less time in the office. And I must say, 10 days in, sign me up for that office. I miss more than I thought I would. The curmudgeon that I am, Nathan, I sit beside you. I miss being able to turn to you and have a chat about nothing very important, or Richie doing impersonations all day. I actually miss the vibe of the office more than I ever thought.
I knew this day would come. God damn it.
Yeah.
Hang on, you haven't said you miss me. Nathan, you haven't said you miss me.
This has really rammed home the divide between those with kids and without kids, because now I can't imagine having a normal conversation for an extended period of time that doesn't involve some shouting outside and going, oh my God, I'm going to have to deal with this in a moment. Funnily enough, one of the few bright sparks in this house is my 18-year-old. I have never seen her happier, or she has never been better in her entire life. She sleeps brilliantly. She literally has a permanent smile on her face. It's like, having her family around all the time and not going off to work for the entire week. Maybe she's enjoying this thing.
Freudian slip there. You said 18-year-old. 18-year-old, Nathan. You've got 18. You've got about 16 more years.
18-month-old.
You were nearly there. There's a text in, lads, if there's one upshot to all of this, it's that my phone has never been cleaner, says Mark. Well, indeed. I mean, I know for a fact I'm destroying the touch part of my phone with all the anti-bac on it, but it has to be done. My wife and I work in the Coombe Hospital. We're worried about school, but for the moment we are winging it. Hopefully it works out. I'm on nights, she's on days. We have no grandparents or babysitters. Well, look, in that instance, I would not worry about the kids' education whatsoever. They will be fine. This is a couple of months, and I think winging it is just fine, and you two deserve to wing it all you want. Garrett says, if Kelly Harrington has to box the head off every Egypt out there not sticking to social distancing rules, she'll have no knuckles left. So Garrett's obviously seen a fair bit of it going on. I think we're doing okay. Look, it's happening everywhere. Even in Italy, where things are still nuts, on social media, there's videos of the mayors of the local towns going around and physically threatening people who are still out on the streets. So if you're still out hanging around the streets in Italy, then I think we're still, at this point, going to have a few people who are out and about. Right, we've got to keep things moving. So, official word on Champions League?
Yeah, UEFA officially postponed this season's Champions League and Europa League finals this evening, and the Women's Champions League final as well. No decision's been made on their potential rescheduling. This season's Champions League final was set for Istanbul on May 30th. The Europa League final was supposed to be 3 days prior in Gdansk, and the Women's Champions League decider was to be held in Vienna on May the 24th. La Liga has been suspended indefinitely because of the coronavirus pandemic. Spanish President Pedro Sanchez extended the country's state of alarm until the middle of April last night. The Spanish Football Federation say football won't return until the relevant authorities and the Spanish government consider it will come at no risk to health. Sticking with Spaniards, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says he feels fully recovered from COVID-19. The 37-year-old announced his diagnosis on March 12th, which led to the suspension of the Premier League the following day. Meanwhile, Arsenal say they'll continue to pay their casual matchday staff during the suspension of football in England, which at the moment runs up until April 30th. A number of Irish players are to return home after the Australian rules season was suspended indefinitely. Tyrone's Conor McKenna, Derry's Anton Tohol and Cork's Mark Kane are all homeward bound after the AFL and the clubs agreed 50% pay cuts. Round 1 games took place behind closed doors at the weekend, but the decision's been made to halt the season. Dublin pair Sinead Goldrick and Niamh McAvoy have also travelled home ahead of potential travel restrictions after the AFLW cancelled the final 2 games of their regular season.
Tony in Knocknacarra says the best outcome of this pandemic is no hugging. Sweet Jesus, is there anything more annoying than all the unnecessary hugging? I really hope that never returns, but shaking hands does. I am going to make a bet now, Nathan, that our producer JP made up that text to get his own agenda on the airwaves. I've never seen a more classic JP text in all my time. Who hates hugging that much?
Or just general civility is what JP's against. Having to see other people. Like, never have I seen a man as happier to walk into an office and there only be 4 people there.
Honestly, I've never seen him in better form. He loves social isolation in all its formats. He's delighted. He's out there having a great time. Not having to talk to anyone. Bohemians are the latest Electricity League Premier Division side to come forth with their plans, and they're better than others, which is good.
Yeah, they're booking the trend, it seems. Bohemians say they're planning to honour the contracts of players and staff despite the suspension of football activity in Ireland. Cork City and Sligo Rovers have both reluctantly had to suspend payments to staff in recent days as the financial pressures of the coronavirus begin to mount. Drogheda in the same boat as well. There are plans to restart the league in mid-June, with Bohs saying they will honour contracts, though the situation will be kept under continuous review. Tyson Fury, he is likely to escape punishment from UK anti-doping should a case against him be reopened. It's been reported that the WBC heavyweight world champion formally relinquished his British Boxing Board of Control licence prior to his victory over Deontay Wilder in February. Fury, along with his cousin Hughie, tested positive for nandrolone in 2015 after claiming they ate uncastrated wild boar. The farmer who provided testimony has since recanted, saying he was offered £25,000 to lie on the Fury's behalf, and he added he never had boar on his farm. Fury is now unlicensed in the UK, meaning UCAT would have little or no impact should a ban from them be forthcoming.
Right. This blew up Sunday week ago in the Daily Mail. They had the exclusive. They interviewed the farmer who said that he was offered 25 grand to, someone's kid's coming. Someone's kid's coming.
Nathan's 18-year-old.
Yeah. Back the first time we've met each other in 18 years. What a surprise. Wash your hands. No hugging.
Where was I? Oh, yes, Tyson Fury.
Yes,
farmer came forward with the Daily Mail, said actually they offered, not Fury directly, but somebody in his camp offered me money to say I had given them uncastrated wild boar, which was not true. And so UCAD are investigating this. They've been in touch with the Fury camp, or certainly with the Fury lawyers. As of yesterday, and all the pieces in the paper on it, there was no reply from the Fury camp. But even in the midst of a global pandemic, I don't think that Tyson Fury, Nathan, can hope to sweep this under the carpet without a very full and frank response to the allegations, to say the least.
No, I think he's been probably quite fortunate that it did happen in the middle of this crisis, so probably hasn't got the attention so far that it would have. But at some stage, there's going to be, there's planned on being a rematch when all of this blows over. And he's going to have to answer the questions. The fact that UCAD can't investigate, does that mean he can somehow keep quiet and stay in America and not answer these questions? I don't think so. I think there's enough there that he has to come out and try and explain this situation, because he was on the verge after that fight of becoming one of, if not the biggest stars in world sport right now. So to have this hanging over him, he's going to have to answer some questions.
There's a couple of strands to it. UCAD were actually fairly reluctant to take the case in the first place. They thought it was going to break them because they felt they were on shaky ground. They didn't think that they could actually prove this beyond a reasonable doubt, that he'd transgressed here and taken nandrolone through means that he didn't. He says he didn't. On the other side of it, if he is going to pick up a ban, or if UCAD are going to punish him even though he's not licensed in the UK, there is a thought out there that because this is now 5 years ago, the appetite to see this pursued in the States just isn't there, and that money will actually see out in all of this, and he would have served that ban anyway, etc., etc. So why dig up old bones? I think this is going to be swept under the carpet in the long term, should anything have to be answered by Fury.
Well, the English media have definitely gotten hold of it now in a big way, and they're chasing it, so we'll see if that has any impact. Where are we going next? Racing continuing behind closed doors?
Yeah, it absolutely is. The Irish flat season got underway today at Nice. The Joseph O'Brien trained Numerian pipped last year's Epsom Derby favourite Sir Dragonet to claim the Devoy Stakes there. O'Brien came away with a double, with favourite Russian Emperor winning the final race of the day. And Mike Vince was trackside for us today.
Chris Hayes completed a double in the feature with La Mista, winning the Park Express Stakes for trainer Ger Lyons, who also had the third even so in the race, while the chief support race, the Devoy Stakes, saw son beat father, as Joseph O'Brien's Numerian under Declan McDonough beat Aidan O'Brien's Sir Dragonet, the hot favourite under Shamie Heffernan. And one name to note for the future, 2-year-old Poetic Flair, winning the first race of the season for Jim Bolger and Kevin Manning, and will surely be even better stepping up in trip.
Yeah, that's my fence.
Yeah,
I feel like we're about 1 week away from Richie's Newsround being every single placing of every horse at the one race meeting taking place.
I'll be honest, Nathan, during my hourly bulletins today, the winners at Nice got a prominence that I don't think they would have been given in other circumstances today.
What sport is going on besides the Irish racing behind closed doors?
Do you know what I found out there is the other day? Did I tell you about this one when I was on the other night? Something called Soap League or Soap Football. One of the sites that streams football illicitly would have ordinarily every game up, whether it's being played in Iran, Australia or Canada or whatever. And John O'Sullivan used to be involved with Cork, posted up something called the Soap League, which was still ongoing. So at least they're clean. You know, you can guarantee.
What is it?
Okay.
Explain it.
I think it's like some kind of soapy football. It's like played in a massive pitch-sized or pitch-shaped slippy slide.
Sounds erotic.
A little bit.
I was just going to say.
Into that kind of thing, Joe.
Well, I mean, you're the one who's looking at it on what you said was an illicit website, so it's up to you.
Yeah.
It's not nearly a football.
It sounds a bit like mud wrestling, Richie.
Yeah, Richie, I don't know about that, to be honest. That doesn't float my boat at all. But whatever you're into.
If this thing gets another 3-4 months down the line, you could be welcome in the Soap League.
Indeed. A teacher has texted in to say the most important thing the children will take out of the crisis is a memory of how their parents coped. It will influence how they mature into compassionate adults. So talk to them, listen to them, support, amuse, exercise, play board games, read to them, cherish them. Not everything is learned from school books. Yes, so take the point. Equally, don't beat yourself up if you're not the world's greatest parent right now. You can't be perfect. It's very tough on everyone. So do your best. The kids will be fine. They will get through this one way or another. This hopefully will not shape them to any great degree, I would hope.
One of the things I've struggled with, and I don't know how you found it, Richie, is that obviously there's an awful lot of talk about box sets and what movies you should be watching and what books you should be reading because everyone has all this time in their hands now to go and actually enjoy this. I'm like, I'm bloody shattered. Gets to 9:30 at night, kids are asleep. I'm like, I'm just going to bloody bed.
Yeah,
I still haven't finished Love is Blind.
How can you not? How do you not just park everything in your life right now and finish Love is Blind? What episode are you on?
I still have one episode to go.
Oh, the reunion. And the reunion. Okay. So sorry, you've got the best episode to come. You've got the actual weddings.
I don't know. Don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. I don't want to know who gets married.
No, I'm not going to tell you who gets married, but you're going to see who gets to the altar and what they say to each other.
Yes. Yeah. It's one of the I know there's a lot of stuff on Netflix, but it'll do well to top this.
I am surprised you're even on the Newsround tonight. How have you not phoned in with an excuse? Oh no, I got something on. Sorry. Someone's kids are losing their mind. Is it yours, Murphy's? You need to run a tighter ship.
Yeah, maybe you hear it more than I can.
Yeah, no,
they're not going to make it through the Newsround.
I definitely hear noise.
JP has texted in again under the guise of Frank this time. I'm also in favour of the new hugging rule. He's shaking his head out there as if it's not him. I'm also in favour of the new hugging rule. He says, I agree with this though. I agree with this. We should also keep the better queue etiquette in shops. I'm all for that. And the lack of certain live sports which chew up time they don't deserve. I'm looking at you, Test cricket and Formula 1. Certainly the better etiquette in shops, I'm all for, says, that's Frank, a.k.a. JP, who hates Huggins. Can you not hear your kids?
I can barely hear my kids.
We can hear them.
Quiet out there! Bloody hell. They just don't listen.
What's going on?
Can I just point out?
If the 18-year-old was there, it'd all be fine.
That's true.
Can I just point out, at the very start of this news round, Nathan was the one who said, no, I love my children. I never lose my temper with them. And he's the one who's shouting at the door saying, can you keep it down out there?
Look, they're pushing him. I've only been in his kid's company for 26 minutes and they're getting on my wick.
I've got the dog asleep behind me and she's fine. So, it's grand.
What is dinner time in the Murphy household?
I think dinner time this evening was about 5:30, but now is baby going to bed time.
Oh.
So the two lads may well have been left downstairs by themselves.
All right.
And they're making hay.
Hence your insistence to your better half, I've got to go up and do this news round. It just wouldn't wouldn't work without me.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Right, last couple of stories.
With apologies to Frank, the texter, the start of this season's Formula 1 campaign has been pushed back to mid-June at the earliest. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix became the latest race to be postponed as a result of the coronavirus. Baku City Circuit made the decision based entirely on the expert guidance provided by the relevant authorities. It means June 14th Canadian Grand Prix may be the first outing, but I wouldn't bet on it. Yeah. And Harlequins have become the latest Premiership club in England to ask players and staff to take a 25% pay cut. They promised to look after their lowest earners during what they call turbulent, unnerving and challenging times. Chief Executive Laurie Dalrymple says the move has been made to protect jobs and the future of Harlequins.
That is the news round this evening. There is one last text in. Lads, what's the verdict on cutting your own hair? How hard can it be?
Easy.
Well, indeed. Murphy, what's the plan? Are you letting that thing grow?
I don't know, but so my main reason for getting a cut in the last year has been that the longer it gets, the grayer it gets.
Ooh.
So I'm a bit concerned.
You're hardly very
3 months is fine. 3 months is fine.
You've a couple of grey hairs tops, I would think, no?
A couple, but the more hair, the more I see the grey hairs. But a bit of gel it'll be all right, I think. What are you going to do? You're not on the telly. You're not going to be on the telly during this, so you'll be all right.
No, if he was on the telly, it'd be better because you'd have somebody in there to do it for him, surely.
No, they don't. I mean, we have no option but to let it grow. I mean, attempting to cut your own hair is, I would presume, bad idea. No, I can try. I mean, if we need a radio slot out of it, then come at me. Yeah. I'll attempt it.
Loving my hair right now. It's so good. I can't wait to give it a little trim later on.
Low maintenance. Right. Oh yeah. We are done. Nathan, you are back for the football show later on.
Yeah. Well, listen, my kids will be on their best behaviour.
Well, indeed.
All hell is about to break loose right now.
Yeah, kids, Dad's coming, leg it. is the
Stern
situation
Nathan is
there.
about to arrive out there.
Richie, thank you. Compliments to your children.
Cheers.
Well behaved,
Thank you.
well disciplined.
Mind yourself, lads.
All right, come on.
Take it easy.
Richie McCormack there with your news round. We have Simon Zebo on Monday Night Rugby after 8 o'clock. And up next, we have Kieran McGee.
I was so pleased to just be there and be playing at Augusta.
Everybody understand. There is silence. Hearts stop. Hearts stop beating.
Arnold now, a side hill 20-footer. The line is perfect. He's got it.
Never in the history of golf has a more popular champion been crowned. Jack Nicklaus, for the 6th time, has won the Masters Golf Tournament.
You know, this is pretty neat, pretty special. This is Augusta National. This is Bobby Jones's place. That's the clubhouse. This is it.
Hard to believe, 21 years old. This for the record.
There it is, a win for the ages.
Oh, wow! In your life, have you seen anything like that?
It's pretty special, you know, to be a part of such an elite company like that. I've been pretty fortunate, pretty lucky to have had some success on this golf course.
You just see him in front of the fire with a pipe. Oh, you're not allowed to do that now. He'll be in bed in an hour and a half's time with a bowl of gruel, electric blanket on low.
He's missed it and he's knocked it. He's knocked it 3.5 feet past the hole.
Oh no. Oh my word, he's chunked it. He has chunked it, and Jordan Spieth is sinking without trace of the Masters. This is extraordinary.
He's done it. What a way to finish. Oh, what a way to finish. That really is wonderful. He's answered a whole lot of questions.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the 2018 Masters champion, Patrick Reed.
Off the Ball
on News Talk.
Have a great evening with itsforwomen.ie. Great value car insurance on the web, on demand, on the go. Itsforwomen.ie. It's always on hand. It's always online.
Need next day delivery on industrial tools and safety supplies? Then you need Caulfield Industrial, one of Ireland's largest suppliers. Our nationwide distribution service offers next day delivery on over 50,000 stock items from caulfieldindustrial.com. We supply quality tools, safety gear and equipment from all the top brands like DeWalt, Snickers, Bosch, Stanley, Baco and more. So whether you're a professional tradesman or a DIY enthusiast, shop online at caulfieldindustrial.com.
This is an important safety message from Dunnes Stores. To keep our customers and colleagues safe, we ask that where possible you go alone to your nearest Dunnes Stores. Avoid rush hour and spend as little time as possible in the shop. Stay the recommended distance of 2 meters away from others and be patient in queues. If you are shopping on behalf of others and need help, please ask. Please protect and respect store teams who continue to provide an important service. Use contactless payment where possible. Thanks for your understanding. Dunnes Stores, always there for our customers.
For a limited time only, get Air's totally unlimited broadband for just $29.99 a month for 12 months. Sign up today and you'll also get Amazon Prime Video on us for a whole year. Watch thousands of popular movies, TV episodes and award-winning Amazon originals. Plus, you'll get the free Air Sport Pack. For more on this amazing offer, call 1-800-500-300, go in store or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. Price for new customers, 12-month contract, subject to availability. Bundle activation fee may apply. For full details and terms, see air.ie/Prime Video. Mattresses-delivered.ie. Nationwide delivery within 48 hours for free. That's mattresses-delivered.ie. Lowest prices guaranteed. Don't forget the hyphen. T's and C's apply.
As a nation, we've been asked to come together by staying apart. At An Post, we're doing everything we can to help you through these unprecedented times. Post offices are remaining open, and deliveries and collections are continuing to operate. Our staff are working tirelessly to maintain services and connect communities all across Ireland. We've introduced special measures to ensure the health and safety of our customers and staff. Together, we can do our part and help each other and our communities. For details, see onpost.com. On Post, for your world.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now, you're very welcome back. So the Olympic Games still for the time being meant to be on this summer, but really I think the writing is on the wall. Canada and Australia have announced they will not be sending athletes to the 2020 Summer Games in Tokyo. And this was after a weekend where federations around the world were queuing up to say they thought that postponement was the only option. That included the US Swimming Federation, US Track and Field, obviously with NBC as part of the US lobbying group, and the 4 to 5 billion they bring from a TV point of view. US voice very strong when it comes to the Olympics. UK Athletics the same. New Zealand have said they would consider boycotting the Olympics if they open as scheduled. Here in Ireland, John Tracy last week, Chief Executive Sport Ireland, said the Olympics had to be postponed. Even today, Sarah Keane of the Olympic Federation of Ireland said that they would have to look into the safety of training for Irish athletes. The official word, according to The Guardian, the IOC said yesterday that it was drawing up alternative scenarios for the Games, but was not considering calling them off. It said it would take up to a month to reach a decision, although Dick Pound, speaking to USA Today, he's part of the IOC board, he said summer of 2021 is what we're looking at. So Ciara McGeehan, Olympian and hoping to be one again, I'm sure, is on the line. How you doing?
Not too bad, thank you.
So strange times, to say the least. It would seem that slowly but surely the IOC are going to have to postpone the Games. Are you hearing anything through the grapevine or officially?
Yeah, I suppose all the information that we're getting as athletes is exactly the same that you're getting. Everything that you read out is as far as my knowledge is of how things are going to go towards the Olympic Games. So we do get regular feedback from the IOC, and I get feedback from Athletics Ireland just about the protocols that they're expecting to bring about, and really to try to reassure us that they're doing the best that they can to give us all of the information that we need going forward. But I suppose it's really up in the air for everybody, and until the International Olympic Committee make a decision, we're all waiting on bated breath.
I presume them making a decision one way or another as soon as possible would be helpful to you and to your life.
Most certainly, yeah. I suppose it's really tricky looking forward to the summer ahead. I don't really think there's going to be much of a racing season if we're being realistic about it. So therefore it's going to be so much harder. I'm in a lucky position that I have my Olympic qualification time. I know that many other athletes don't. Other athletes haven't even went through the qualification process in other sports. So that's tricky for athletes that are going to try to qualify. I really don't think it's going to go ahead on the time scale that was originally planned. Hopefully it is postponed. I would be absolutely heartbreaking if an Olympic Games was cancelled, because realistically you only get so many chances at an Olympic Games in your lifetime as an athlete. But yeah, it would be good if as athletes we knew just what to expect in the coming few months. That it would help people prepare mentally. And like I have teammates in Team New Balance Manchester that we're getting ready for Olympic qualification marathons, and we're halfway, if not nearly the whole way through marathon prep. And suddenly they're like, okay, we'll have to stop. The British Marathon qualification was closed. They're not going to race it. So it is really hard mentally for those athletes. Like we put our lives on hold for our sport. It is our whole lives, I suppose. At the same time, there's so much more bigger things with regards to Corona and COVID-19 that we all know. And it really puts sport into perspective.
I'm sure, yeah. I presume it won't be cancelled. I would think next summer is the most likely solution here. But it would be, I mean, I make it, you're just gone 28, so I mean, this is kind of your peak effectively, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like this is, it's been a fantastic upward curve for me. And nobody likes to see upward curves at the moment.
Let's flatten that curve, Ciara, for God's sake. Let's flatten that curve.
Hopefully not my performance, but let's flatten the other curves. Yeah, so I felt like this year was a really good year for me. Myself and my coach Steve had the really nice building blocks that we wanted going into 2020. 2019 was a fantastic year, and I made my first world final. So I was really looking forward to going forward into 2020. But look, I think you always have to try to find the positives in things. I came away from the World Champs in Doha thinking, oh my goodness, what do I have to do to close the gap on the girls' head? And I knew that time was going to be the thing that I was battling against. I have more time now to get fitter, to get stronger. I'm going to view that as a positive. Athletes around the world now have more time to maybe focus on the things that were their weaknesses. We just have to really manage that really carefully and figure out how we're going to process this whole next year in a sporting context. Yes. It is really hard for athletes the world around, but we're all in the same boat. And to be honest, it's quite nice to know that we're all there together as a community of athletes, and really as a world community as well as a whole, that we're all fighting this together, and hopefully we'll come out the other side and try to minimise the number of fatalities.
Well, indeed. On the Olympic Games, for instance, they may be toying around with various scenarios. So they might say, well, you know, potentially November could be doable, or, you know, let's delay it by 2 months or 3 months or 6 months. The science of peaking, I'm interested in. I can only presume it's very scientific and very specific at this stage. So would you as an athlete prefer, well, let's just put this whole thing on hold for a year? Or like, would it completely mess you up if they just bump it back by 2 months?
Not necessarily, no. I think what would be hard in that case is the athletes that are really going to try to push for qualification time. For me, it's personally something that I don't mind. I have my QT and I could just focus with the same build-up. So let's say, for argument's sake, an athlete has a specific build-up into a championship. So for me, usually I have a winter block where I get strong and I do a lot of base work. So my coach likes to think of it as a cake. We would do a whole load of base work of strength, then we build another little bit of like aerobic, then anaerobic work, and the cherry on the top is me getting racing fit. And I necessarily maybe need 6 weeks to get really race sharp. So I can just work 6 weeks back from wherever they say, and I think most athletes would probably feel the same, provided that we know when we need to peak. I can compete in October. I've done it before. Commonwealth Games were in October previously. It does get hard whenever a Games is, for example, the way it was for the Commonwealth the last time round in March. It's an unconventional season for us. So I personally kind of would prefer a late track season at the end of the summer, as opposed to it switching to maybe a strange track season for me being in the beginning of the year. But look, we'll take whatever comes. I can maybe foresee it being postponed by a whole year. That'll have another effect on other championships going ahead. Next year's a World Champs year, and the cycle tends to work that Olympics is in a European Champs kind of year. So like, there's so many things. It's all so up in the air, and we really don't know. But it wouldn't have, with regards to peaking, too much of an impact on me. Okay. And what about training then? Has that been impacted? Are you doing it in groups? Are you on your own? Is it a solitary thing? I think over in Manchester, New Balance, athletes kind of share a house and pitch in together a bit? Yeah, so our group has definitely been impacted a little bit. There's 3 athletes right now live in the house, myself, Adam and Yip. My teammate Anna literally just flew to Colorado to visit her boyfriend, Bohs. He's in an elite athlete group over there. And that was right before the travel ban was brought in. So we don't know if Anna's going to get back. So she's stranded over in America, but she's in safe hands, and I'm sure she's happy to get to see her boyfriend for a little longer. But yeah, so because us 3 live in the house, we're training together. We have teammates that are further afield. So Ross and Johnny, they live in a town over. So we're minimising our contact with our teammates as much as we can. Luckily, athletics and running is quite a solitary sport in itself, so my life hasn't been changed too much. We still can get out for a run. We have a number of trails around here that are usually pretty quiet. I have noticed an awful lot more people out and about on them since everybody's at home, which is interesting to see. But people are respectful of the 2 metre cord, like kind of little distance, which is quite nice. We can pass each other, and we don't run too close either. I am lucky that myself and Yip train together. So we do most of our training together, and it's not a huge impact because we live in the same house, so we can be a little bit closer. If anybody's seen we've posted a few wee videos about what exercises that you can do. We've had some comments being like, what about the 2 metre quarantine distance? And whenever you sit at the same dinner table, that 2 meters doesn't matter. You're your own mini unit now, I think. Only little family. So we're not going to the gym that we usually go to. That was kind of decided as a team that we wouldn't go to. We're lucky enough to be supported by Life Leisure. We don't go there. they've actually offered to give us some equipment that we can bring into the house. We have a little room in the basement that we can use as a gym. Our coach Steve, whenever he does come to training, so we have 2 training sessions a week, he keeps his distance. We had hill repeats there last week, and Steve was at the top of the hill calling out to us, and we were running up and down past him. So we're keeping those 2 meter guidance there. But luckily, we live a pretty low profile life anyway, so we're just not getting out for a coffee the way we used to. But we've tried our best to limit our trips to shops. We only go to the shop once a week to get groceries, and really doing as much as we can to try to stay in some way isolated, and not only to protect us, because I feel like we're all quite lucky. We're a young enough age group. If we get sick, we'll be relatively fine. I know there are some fatalities in younger people, but the town we live in has quite an elderly population, and it's more thinking of the wider community and the goodness that we can do just by minimising our time out and not kind of being out and about in the community quite so much. So as much as we can, we're limited in that contact.
We could do more with that attitude. Have you been following the coverage very closely? A lot of people have been incredibly frustrated with the British response. Certainly, we seem to be a few steps ahead over here.
Yeah, I have to say, both myself and Yip's Dutch, so she's been following how things have been moving in Holland. Obviously, I'm Northern Irish, so I know what's happening at home in the north. My sister's a doctor. She's like surgical registrar up in the city hospital, and she's feeding back to me the type of information that they're getting in the hospital. They're really prepping for something big coming, and I can sense her anxiety about it all. My mum works in the health service too. She's been getting briefed on what to do. My aunt is a pharmacist, and she's just been completely run down. So I'm getting all of that information from home. I have a lot of close friends and my boyfriend in the south of Ireland, and I follow everything that happens down there. And I have to say, I've been extremely proud of how the Irish have reacted, about how the Irish government have brought in all of the measures that they have. I feel like they've been extremely proactive. I have a little frustration that I feel that the British government weren't working quite as quickly.
No.
And therefore, I felt like I was banging my head against a wall trying to advise teammates in the past not to go out for a team dinner, for example. One that myself and Yip sat out of because we felt that it just wasn't appropriate. But people are learning, and it's something that you have to figure as a human as well. I can get frustrated at others if they don't pick up on things quite as quick as me. But as long as we hopefully all get to that point and we learn and we continue on a better path, then that's much better than being angry at people for maybe not making changes sooner. Hopefully people are learning. I am frustrated seeing pictures of people queuing outside chip shops, of hearing about young people still going out and socialising, and I'm trying to do my part as best I can to try to just get the message out there that really we need to have a little bit of social distancing. It doesn't mean you can't step outside. You can do it in a safe manner. We as athletes do it each day in a safe manner. We try to keep our distance from other people. We keep pretty isolated on a run. But just that message, don't be going out and having unnecessary journeys and meeting people you don't have to meet. And it can get a little frustrating, but I think we're getting there as a whole. And I'm a little bit scared and nervous about what's going to come. I feel whenever I'm looking at information that's coming from Italy, it literally hit them like an explosion. And I'm dreading to see what might happen and the consequences of that. And I just really hope that for everybody at home and everybody here in the UK, that we all stay as safe as we possibly can.
Yeah, it is that horrible, palpable sense of the calm before the storm at the moment, and we don't know how bad the storm is going to be, so hopefully it's nothing like Italy, but yeah, the fear is justified in some respects. Before we go, and you made the interesting point that, you know, if the Olympics are pushed back a year, it gives you more time to close the gap on a truly exceptional field in the 1500 metres women's at the moment, incredibly strong. So like looking at best times, for instance, so the 1500 metre world record is 3:50, give or take. I think it's 3:50 at the moment. Your best time, and do correct me if I'm wrong, the last time I checked was 4 minutes flat and 0.15 tenths of a second. And then say Sonia's record is 3:58.85. So what, just under 2 seconds. So what I'm very interested in is the extent to which 2 seconds is attainable. Is 2 seconds improvement in a year for a 1,500 metres athlete at 28 years of age as well. Is that like a crazy thing to expect you to be able to close the gap on it? Like, is 2 seconds a lifetime, or is it kind of semi-achievable in a year?
For me personally, I feel it's definitely achievable in the year. I feel that whenever I look at my progression through athletics, and I was only chatting to my coach about this during the week, we were talking about how you make jumps in training, jumps in improvements, and what he would have expected from me. So take, for example, we looked at my average kind of race pace and my average time. In the past, I had, after Rio in 2016, I knew I was in fantastic shape, had trained with Jerry, and we knew that I was in a really good place. I didn't make the final of the Olympic Games then, but I made the semi-final, and I came away from that championships and that Olympic Games bitterly disappointed because I knew there was so much more in me. So I scrambled to get another race, got into a race in Paris, a Diamond League, which was a very big deal for me. And I ran 4:01. Huge PB. I went from 4:06 to 4:01. Now, it wasn't a shock to me at all because I knew I had the potential to be there, and I knew that my training showed. I just hadn't attained it in a race yet. So my average racing time was probably in and around 4:06 because I had one 4:01 and I had numerous 4:07s, 4:08s, 4:09s.
Yeah.
Fast forward to, say, last year, my average racing time is probably in and around 4:04, I think. I had that 4 flat. I had numerous 4:06s, another few 4:04s, I'm pretty sure. So I'm getting that average time down, and I'm getting that a little bit closer to that, my kind of special sub 4 for the 15.
Yeah.
Now, last year I was bitterly disappointed not to go sub 4 because I knew again that it was in me, that it was there. But as any athlete knows, it's you have to have the right race and you have to be in the right race. So for me, it's being in the right race and being in that shape for the right race. So I believe that I can get down to that Irish record. I don't know when. I believe I can do it in a year, but you have to have all of those aspects come together. And if it doesn't come next year, I'll be battling on to try to get it any other year that I have and have the luckiness to be able to run. So I believe it's definitely achievable. I feel like I've been knocking on the door of being a sub 4 minute runner for a long time.
Yeah.
I've had that potential and shown it for a long time, and hopefully I can just step up to the board and produce the goods.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will at some stage. And a last one, have you run sub 4 in training, or do you just need adrenaline realistically to run your best times?
So whenever you train, you don't really run a race. I've never ran 1,500 meters of race pace in training ever. Wow. I've done time trials where you go slightly below pace or slightly up, you're on pace, but for a lower distance. So say for 1,000 meters or 1,200, and similar for the 800. So I've definitely hit the pace that is required of me to do that in 1,500. I just haven't done it in a race as of yet. So, and to be honest, my coach and each coach I've had with Jerry and Steve have told me this in the past, that I race so much better than I train. So my training says, okay, Ciara's in 4:02 shape, and I'll go out and I'll bang out a 4 flat race. Yeah. And that's been consistent throughout my whole life, that I've been able to step up to the mark, and quite often at major champs. And I know I'd rather be like that than have all the goods out
100%.
in a training session and nothing for a race.
Could you imagine the poor sucker who's like, I'm really good in training, honestly. That's not the way to be.
Exactly. So never raced it, never done it in training, but I believe I can do it in a race.
Okay, well listen, we look forward to the day. So I guess everything's on hold at the moment and you're waiting on news the same as the rest of the world. Ciara McGeehan, thanks so much for your time. It's really appreciated. Best of luck with things.
Thanks a million.
Off the Ball on News Talk. The Future Proof Podcast.
Those of us who live in cities and towns